Okay, so so we're going to talk about there is now you may or may not, again, I don't know if everyone has this with your level inside of ops, but when you go to lead orders, you should see instant purchase lead orders order history. If you don't see order history, then I can get it for you. But if you ever are wondering what exactly you purchased and why, okay, you can look at, I can come in here and look at all orders for the last, I mean, this is like the last 3 months, okay? And each of these has a receipt. So you'll notice, you know, in some of these, if there's a dollar sign next to it, it hasn't been fulfilled. But any of these, like for instance, I'm looking through, I'll do mine down here. So these here, I can click on this and I can, if you guys are questioning what was charged and what details, you'll see the exact, this is the literal receipt, the leads that were assigned to you and the charge that you were charged, along with the last four of the card that was charged, the date, the time, everything. Okay, so if you're ever questioning or if you get hit with a charge and you're not sure, don't freak out, first of all, okay? And please don't, I've had this happen with agents before. No, unfortunately, on this call, but I have had agents like basically fight the charges, like they didn't know what it was and they fought the charges, and all of a sudden we're getting hit with a credit card a fight with Symmetry, and every time that happens, it costs Symmetry because you basically get dinged for any kind of a false charge or someone kind of fighting something. So I want you guys to be aware that as a business, you can track all this. You can see all of the order histories, everything that's been purchased, the details of everything back here. And if you can't, and it's not in your backside office, I definitely can. So just want you guys to be aware of that initially. The second thing I want to go to and does anyone have any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. If you haven't looked at that, just go back and look at it. It is something, there's a couple of things in here that most people aren't aware of. When you go to applications, okay, most of you guys have an application tab. I do want you to be aware of what happens inside of here and how things get tracked. You can see here on the left side, there's a submit date and a receive date. The items that say that do not have a received date will not count yet for your weekly numbers. They will count, but they won't yet. And here's what I mean, okay? You'll see that in Jeffrey, I'm just using you as an example because these here they don't have a receive date, okay? So in here, Jeffrey submitted yesterday, submitted 2 applications. These are through National Life Group. You'll notice that it says agency approved. That means, okay, it goes through a 3-step process. Initially, when you submit something, if it's an e-app, I don't approve anything. It just automatically goes in, okay? Everything's good. It'll count to your numbers. Everything's fine. But it also does not submit anything to the carrier because it's assuming that you already submitted it in an electronic application to the carrier, okay? The only time that you will see anything that looks like this over here, anything besides approved, if it says deleted, if it says agency approved, that means that it's a paper app that was submitted, and it means that I have approved it, but there's something that has to happen on Symmetry's side in order to be able to forward it to the carrier. Now, that might mean you're not yet licensed with National Life Group. Now, I know Jeffrey is. He just recently got licensed with them, so there could be a hang-up at Symmetry. This will clear up very quickly, but until you see a receive date in here, it's not going to show up in the numbers. And here's what I mean by it's not going to show up, okay? Let me clear off this. What I mean is when you go to the leaderboards and you look at your numbers, you'll see here Jeffrey's numbers right now are 16,000. It doesn't count if you look at the applications, and if I look at the policies that are in here that show up as the applications that he submitted, you will notice that the 2 applications with NLG are not in here. They don't show up here. That's because they don't count until it's received, until it's actually submitted and sent to the carrier. They don't count yet. They won't refrain from counting. It's just that it takes some time. It can take 3 days, 5 days. Sometimes it can take a week. Okay. If you're not contracted, you don't, let's say you get a carrier, insurance bay email, you miss it, you don't get things sent in, you don't have things taken care of, it can take some time. So I'm telling you this to just, if you see that in Opt, then that kind of should say to you, hey, is there anything I need to do? Message Jen, message me on, hey, I noticed that this hasn't been taken care of yet. Is there anything I need to do? Or is it just needing to be waited on by Symmetry and it's going to kind of resolve itself in the next 3 to 5 days? Well, we saw that with several other people last week. They submitted stuff. Anytime you see these yellow items, these are new riders. A new rider won't show up immediately because it's going to be a paper app. And it isn't until that paper app gets sent to the carriers, contracted, all that stuff, until eventually it'll get approved. And I'll show you that by looking, I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go back and do a little different date. There's a couple of other items down here. You'll see, again, Jeffrey, you'll see one here, Mutual of Omaha. This was a duplicate, okay, that got taken out. So again, if you see these, when you do a search, down here, it says the total of your search because I'm saying everything that was submitted I want to see. So if you go into Opt and you say from the 30th, which is the beginning of the submitted month, to today, and you hit search and it says everything submitted, I'm going to make an assumption that my numbers are 133,000 of total submitted business, and that assumption would be wrong because notice in here there's one that was declined. That is not coming off of this number. If you scroll up, you'll see approved, 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 declined. That is also not showing up, and it should be taken off of those numbers. If you scroll up, I'm going to keep going. Another one declined. Now, when I say declined, I'm not talking declined at the carrier. I'm talking about inside of the CRM. Inside of Opt, it was declined, maybe because it wasn't the application wasn't done right, needed to be redone, or it was a duplicate, or whatever it was, okay? This and you'll see as we scroll up, you'll see several items in here. You'll see agency approved. I'll show you how to search for that specifically. None of these are going to count that say agency approved in the numbers on the month yet, the leaderboard month. Duplicate obviously isn't going to count. That's going to be taken out because it was a duplicate. So up at the top, if you're wanting to make sure that your numbers are accurate, I would tell you to make sure that you go into the status bar, and you can do everything submitted, and you can subtract the numbers out if you want. And if you're an Excel spreadsheet geek or a spreadsheet guru, you can just, again, remember, you can go to this caret at the top. You can hit export to Excel, and you can go through and manually delete the ones that you want so that you have a running history that makes sense for you. Okay, again, you can utilize that if you'd like to. Okay, if you want to go into the, why is it, let's see, in the status bar here, if you want to look at just the ones that are approved, all you got to do is click on just the one that's approved. Okay, select that. And you'll notice here now my number is a little different, 127,000. That's taking out all of the deleted ones, but it's not taking into account the agency approved ones that will be showing up probably within the next few days or at least by next week. So if you want to know the agency approved items, again, a little redundant here, but I want to make sure you guys understand this. So we've got three applications that are waiting to go on my books. There's $3,000 that's hasn't shown into the agency yet, that's waiting. So it's important that you guys understand all the ins and outs of this, and that you know how to drag the numbers, how to pull up, how to, you know, again, if you're a spreadsheet guy or girl, making sure that you know how to utilize that. It's super important that when you're tracking this, that you know what each one means, and that you understand this receive date and submit date. That's super important. A lot of people don't know that. It's not really talked about, so it's not like we're expecting you to know. That's why we talk about it in these mentor meetings. The other thing that I also want you to be aware of, okay, if an item hasn't been approved yet, you submit it, okay, and you did it wrong. For example, it's a paper application, you submitted it, and let's say you sent it in and it showed up as like $65,000 of premium instead of $650. Again, Jeffrey, I know that's happened to you before. It's happened to me. I've done the same thing. You can, before I approve it, this little icon over here on the right that has like a toolbar icon, if you click on Edit Application, as long as it hasn't been approved, you can make adjustments and submit it again. You can delete this PDF inside of here. Now, if it's been approved, you cannot do this. You can't do it on any of the items that are in that are grayed out anyways. You can make an adjustment maybe on the name or something of that nature, but you can't really make an adjustment on one that has been already approved. So if you're wanting to make an adjustment on one that's been approved, first of all, be careful, because we don't want to do this very much. But you'll have to message Jen, and Jen will have to talk to Symmetry, and Symmetry will have to go on the back side of the software and kind of make a manual adjustment. So if you do make a mistake, you hit submit, and you're like, oh crap, I did something wrong, and it's a paper application. You can go back in here and you can make those edits by using that Edit App feature that's inside. The other thing that you guys need to be aware of is if you need an application that you submitted. We've had this with a couple of agents recently. The document that was used for the application when it was faxed didn't show up clearly, and so the carrier asked for, hey, we need the application. If you want to know what it actually looks like, on the far right side, you'll see this paper clip. The paper clip is the actual application. And it is the way it looks inside of Symmetry, inside of this. So you'll see here this particular document, not that it's a big deal, it was upside down. Again, doesn't matter when it's faxed, it doesn't really matter. But if it shows up here as grainy, if it shows up, again, remember, if it's being faxed and it's like grayscale, it's not going to be very legible. They're not going to be able to see it. It's got to be black and white. So if you guys are using Cam Scanner, if you're using Tiny Scanner or any kind of document scanner, do it black and white. Make sure it's clear. Make sure it's neat. Because otherwise, when it gets faxed, there is some loss there, some resolution loss, and it's going to be even worse when it gets faxed. Okay? So just a couple of things for people to be aware of. A lot of times we don't go over a lot of this. The other thing that I do want you guys to know from an agency standpoint, all of our numbers that we track, okay, anything that we do from an agency standpoint, your promotions, everything, it's all done inside of this snapshot. So if you're wanting to know numbers for previous months, again, and I'm sorry if some of you don't want people to know what your numbers are, they're going to be up here for a split second. Again, we try to run a transparent shop. So it is what it is. But as this is pulling up, we can track, if you want to know in-depth details about the ins and outs of everything, we know exactly the number of applications taken for the agency. We know exactly the number of leads, okay? And the real important as an agency, some of the important numbers for you guys consider is we need to have as an agency at least 30% or more closing ratio for the applications taken. We also, and I want you guys to be aware of this, there is a very, and we don't talk about it very much, okay? But you guys will find this important because you'll miss out on money if you don't pay attention to this, okay? The bonuses that Symmetry gives out, the producer bonus, and as you become an agency owner, there is also there's a capital bonus that's paid out based on net placed business on the agency. It's the same as the producer bonus based on net place. The one thing that they utilize to make sure that they pay the bonus is this PPL number. It's paid premium per lead. They want to know, they're going to bonus you if you're above average on placing business per lead that you purchase. Now, this is only A leads purchased. This does not count for 5A leads, okay? Only A leads purchased. So you'll see here, Chris Thompson has a $3,500 paid premium per lead because it wasn't an A lead. It was a bonus lead. So the leads don't count. He had 100% close rate because, again, it wasn't an A lead. It doesn't count. Now, compare that to, let's use, it doesn't really matter. Compare it to Brandon Henry, for example, okay? Brandon Henry has a $300 paid premium per lead. And just so you know the ratios, okay? $150 to $200 will get you the 50% of the producer bonus. You have to have above a $200 paid premium per lead in order to get the full producer bonus. So there's 2 people in our agency that got the producer bonus last month, I believe, or at least this month. And I believe, Omar, you were one, and I believe Elazar, or it was Jeffrey, I don't remember. If you saw a bonus that hit your account or that's about to hit your account, then you'll know who I'm talking about. But that has to do with the paid premium per lead, and it has to do with the net placed business. Okay, so just, again, I want you guys to be aware of this. Most of you are above the 200 mark if you go down this list here. The only ones that are going to be below is if you're taking a ton of leads and you're not closing. That's the only ones that are going to be below. So anyone down here, you'll see people, Jody Mason, you'll see, and I'm not pointing out names, you'll see me, for example, is a good example. I'm 0. I'm 0 because I had leads roll over to me. I had to buy 10 leads, okay, because someone didn't follow through on their commitment. I bought 10, and I didn't close any of those 10 because they were in a county where I couldn't go close them, okay? So that hurts me personally as a personal producer, but as an agency, we are paying attention to this number down here, this 228. That 228 means that the agency gets the capital bonus. I use that money to put back into you guys to build systems to help you guys out with leads when necessary, again, at the discretion of the agency owner to help the agency. So I missed this the month before, and literally the bonus got cut by $800. So that hurts anytime there's free money on the table. So I want you guys to be aware of all these items. Submitted business, placed business, net placed. You'll see the agency had about a 54% net placed. If you look at a rolling, we can look at a rolling net place. This is how we get your rolling net place numbers, is we say we want 3 months of data averaged out starting in September. So we want September back 3 months. And it'll pull this up, So July, August, September is what's going to show up here. And we're going to see the average numbers for the agency. As an agency, we average above $200 per paid premium per lead. And as an agency with all fall offs and everything, we average about 64% net placed. We've submitted $335,000 of business, and we've issued $215,000. Okay, so as an agency, this is all pretty good. We are very, very close to that 30% net. That is pretty average. 30% close ratio across the board is pretty average, but quite frankly, I'm not happy with that. It needs to be more like 50%. And the reason why, just so you guys know, as you grow your agencies, the reason why this is so low is because of people that purchase leads and don't close anything. They just consume the leads, and I don't know why, as a business, why you would ever buy leads and not go work them and close them. But any A leads that are purchased that don't get closed, it hurts the agency. Bottom line, it hurts everyone. Okay? So make sure, and you'll see here, and I'm not pointing out this person because you guys need to go say anything, but you'll see here, I mean, by the way, Philip Young has been going through some very dramatic items. And I'm not saying this so that you guys can hammer him with, we're sorry, we're thinking of you. But his wife did lose his sister to a battle of cancer. So during that interaction, he had been buying leads and not being able to go work them. Just so you know, there is stuff that happens behind the scenes for people. And so we're very, very understanding of that. But this hurts. 75 leads purchased, nothing closed, 4 leads closed. That hurts. This is also in Little Rock. So again, the reason why I'm saying Wyatt earlier, I said, hey, there's a lot of leads in Little Rock. You want to make a trip, we can get you leads. That's not a problem. Okay. It's just a matter of, hey, I want to do it, and I want to take a couple of days and go run meetings, and we'll make it happen. And that stands for anyone. It doesn't have to be anyone local. It can be, Jeffrey, you could drive down to Little Rock if you wanted to. I know that's a trek, but Yvette, same thing. You guys are in driving distance to stay down there in a hotel. If you want to knock out a ton of business, you could do that. So just, again, I want you guys to be aware how this all happens. I think this does help people put into perspective the agency a little bit more. I'll go over a little bit more of how we allocate leads at another mentor session. We will not have mentor session next week. It won't happen because most of us will be in Tulsa. So we'll just as a team be mentoring together in Tulsa. I do want to go over some more of this. There's a lot more we can go over, how the spreadsheet works. The carriers, we get to see exactly what each individual person submitted at a particular carrier and what their placed business at that particular carrier is. We have it broken down into totals for, and you can see, guys, and this is what's interesting. If you look down in the bottom right corner, you'll see when I say we use Mutual of Omaha 60% of the time, it really is 60% of the time. Mutual of Omaha is our main core carrier that we utilize, and we utilize a fraction of the other carriers, a very, very small fraction. But that is a huge testament to how great Mutual of Omaha is from being able to help clients all the way around. 66% of our business is done through Mutual of Omaha, and I love that. You guys will really love that as you grow an agency. So just things to be thinking about. Is there any, we're at an hour. Is there anything that we have talked about that you guys want to ask some questions on, just very briefly, that we can answer before we finish the mentor session? Okay, that's all I've got then. I will put a disclaimer since this is being recorded. I am asking that you guys, if you do see this video and use this video, I am asking out of courtesy of those that are on the screen that numbers are being shown, that you be respectful of that. It can be a little bit embarrassing to see numbers that aren't what you might think for a person, because again, we always talk about people's submitted numbers, and sometimes we don't talk about behind the scenes stuff. So from a leadership standpoint, be courteous of other people's information that's on here. Be careful with that, and make sure that you're being respectful, as there is some information that is shown. Every agent in the agency, you can see what they're doing here. So just, again, use it as a learning tool, not as something to badger or beat someone over the head of, hey, I saw you didn't have your numbers at X or whatever. So again, and if I do hear that's being done, you'll probably get a conversation with me. That's
Mike,
all
can I ask you something?
Yeah, Ron.
Just real quick, is there anything we need to do prior to Tulsa to prep for it?
Not really. I would say think about how you're going to organize the information. Whether it's you recording it on a digital recorder that you can decompress later, whether it's taking notes, whether it's anytime we have these events, and you guys, it's a good question, Ron. There is a lot of time and effort that's going into this. There is a ton of prepping. There's going to be such good content. If there's anyone that is on the board thinking about joining, this is going to be the best opportunity. It will blow your mind how good this is going to be. You're going to I promise you, if you have an open mind and you're coachable, you will walk away from this event going, man, I learned a lot of information. The problem with learning a lot of information is you're going to walk away going, how do I implement it? That's going to be the problem. Okay. And it happens every single time we do one of these things. Ton of great information. And then I shouldn't say no one, a lot of people don't use it to make any changes. They're just like, man, that was great. We got hyped up and psyched up and everything was awesome. And now we're going to go back and not do anything. So what I would tell you, Ron, is do a lot of great note taking. Do some thought process before you go on what do I need to learn so that I can make sure I'm looking for that in the presentations, in the role playing, in the items that are happening up front, so I can learn things that I can implement that will help me in areas that I'm maybe weak in. And then make sure that probably the most important thing is post-conference that you decompress the information, that you go back through your notes, that you reiterate what was important, what should I be doing, and that you make sure that you take 2 or 3 items and you commit to implementing them. That's the key. Most people miss out on implementing these items post-conference. So other than that, just be intentional about what you want to get from it, and maybe who you want to meet as well. If there's some specific people that you'd like to have conversations with, seek them out and ask. Hey, I want to pick your brain for 5 minutes. Don't pick their brain for 5 hours. Pick their brain for a few minutes. Be respectful of their time. But everyone's going to be very, very open to having conversation with you guys.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Mike.
All right, sounds good, guys. Appreciate each one of you. Again, stay true to your commitments. Hammer it hard this week. Make sure you get everything uploaded into Opt. Proud of you guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Talk to you later.